What's up, everyone? This is RJ Game News USA here, and today I'm going to go over the movie review for Street Prom Queen. This was a Netflix exclusive that just came out, and I got some thoughts I want to share. So if you like this kind of content, please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And let's just jump right into it. So, before we talk about this movie, we have to talk a little bit about the other 3 Fear Street movies that was on Netflix, and they were great. They all worked as a trilogy, and they were exciting, and they all melded together perfectly, and they were very fun. This movie doesn't quite hit those same beats, but it's still a good movie. Like, I would say it would maybe be passable in theaters, but definitely as a streaming movie, I enjoyed my time. Overall, I gotta give this movie an 8 out of 10. And I'm gonna keep the spoilers really light, because there's some really good twists and turns in this movie I didn't see coming, and double and even triple twist going on, that, left me a little flabbergasted, although they did make sense. It wasn't like one of these twists that just don't make sense at all. It all comes together fine. But really, where I think this movie shines is the setting. I love everything 80s. And this movie was so 80s. They had a nice touch with the camera looking granular-like and old school in scenes, especially towards the beginning. They really spent a good 10-15 minutes in the beginning of this movie really setting the stage about what life was like in the late 80s. And the characters were very believable in that setting. The fashion was right on the times. The music was right on the times and great. And the aesthetic and the look of everything, down from how the teachers would dress or how students would dress, or how kids interacted, were mostly on point, aside from a few issues I had. You do have your typical teenage thing going on. You got jocks and preps and loners and druggies. I do feel that Laurie's best friend in the movie was a little out of place. I felt a little lesbian vibe from her, but they never really dug deep into that. And I just don't think it really had a place in the late 80s. It felt a little forced, but at the same time, they didn't really double down on it. I just felt like they were making you think she was lesbian for Laurie, and then nothing really came of it. When it comes to the gore, I thought the gore was great. I thought that the kill scenes were awesome. This is me coming off of watching Final Destination recently, though. So obviously a step down there. I would give Final Destination the slight nod, because even though I do give both of these movies an 8 out of 10, Final Destination feels like a stronger 8 to this, for sure. If I were to only pick one of the 2 movies to see. But, with that being said, I gotta say, the weak part of the movie is probably actually the story. The story is a little weaker than that Fear Street trilogy was. Look, and I love Fear Street. I read the Goosebump books when I was a kid in the 90s, and loved the Goosebump books. But I actually went back to the Fear Street novels in the 80s when I got older, and they were awesome. R.L. Stine is a genius. And I don't think this movie really has anything to do with R.L. Stine for the most part. I feel like they're just using his name, and they're just throwing together a movie. Another negative for me is I'm a little fed up with the whole prom setting anyway in general. Certain school setting movies kind of suck, really, and they're kind of predictable, and they're kind of played out for the most part. That being said, with the 1 hour and 30-minute runtime, I felt as though the movie was briskly paced and very enjoyable. Now, obviously, it doesn't touch anywhere near how great Carrie was. Carrie, of course, is the greatest of all the prom-killing movies. But that had such a different vibe to it. Carrie was, if you don't like slow, plotting movies, that movie is very slow in plotting. You really have to let things play out, especially the slow motion scene. Good God, if you don't have the patience, Carrie will wear you thin. Carrie is definitely a 10 out of 10 movie for me. It's not for everyone. Kids who probably like this Fear Street Prom movie, who might go back and watch Carrie, probably wouldn't like it. But that being said, even though it's not trying to touch Carrie, it's not trying to be anywhere near the dramatic scene that Carrie was, I couldn't help but feel at some point I was getting Carrie vibes that they were going to screw over Laurie, and that's not how it played out. But I'm fine with that, of course. Because if it did play out that way, it would feel like they're just redoing Carrie. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with the movie. I do recommend it. It is a little cheesy, but I do like cheesy. I do like cheesy more than your average person, so take that with a grain of salt. I've liked movies like Imaginary and movies like Night Swim, which are obviously very fucking cheesy. Lots of Blumhouse stuff I'm into. This movie could have been made by Blumhouse and I would have believed it. So if you're not digging the Blumhouse stuff, then number one, we probably disagree on a lot of things on the channel anyway. And number two, this is probably not the movie for you. Like I said, I was a little concerned in the beginning. Other than them setting the stage and the setting, I was excited for it. But in the beginning, I was not so into this movie. And I did get into it more and more as it went on. And it did crescendo really nicely with some twist at the end. A nice triple twist, actually. Which you'll figure out towards the end of the movie. There's the initial twist, the double twist, and the triple twist. So yeah, enjoy that. I love twisted movies. I'm a big fan of M. Night Shyamalan and stuff like that. So yeah, for sure. Don't want to spoil anything. I don't want to talk too much more about it because I feel like I've already given up enough light spoilers. But why don't you go see the movie? Why don't you come back in the comments below? Tell me what you think. It's on Netflix exclusively. Sometimes we're going to cover a streaming service movie here on the channel. To me, I was not interested in the Lilo and Stitch movie. I wasn't interested in Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I don't care about Mission Impossible. So this movie coming out around this time happened to be just perfect for me to just stay in and watch a streaming movie while I get prepped and ready to watch more movies in the theaters the next few weeks. So my advice is, out of those three movies, Lilo and Stitch, Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning, and Fear Street Prom Queen, I'd stick with this. But of course, I am a horror movie fan, first and foremost, and we all know comedy is dead in theaters anyway. But enough of me rambling. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you all for watching the video. If you actually made it this far, then I want to tell you I appreciate it. I appreciate people who actually watch the entire video. I appreciate even when you watch 1 second. But for those that especially watch the entire video, kudos to you and thank you very much. I will see you later.